The wormhole collapsed with a sound like reality tearing itself apart. ROM the Spacek Knight crashed through the event horizon into a concrete chamber, his silver armor scorched from dimensional turbulence. Klaxon screamed. Red lights bathed the circular room. His neuroprocessors cataloged threats in microseconds. Armed military personnel, weapons trained, escape routes limited. Behind him, the massive stone ring shimmered and went dark, its liquid surface evaporating into nothing. His analyzer activated automatically, scanning the room for Dire Wraith energy signatures. Every screen in his helmet turned crimson. Threat detected. Non-human biological signature. Distance, 12 meters. ROM's neutralizer snapped up, the weapon's barrel glowing with dimensional energy as he aimed at the largest humanoid, a dark-skinned warrior with a golden symbol embedded in his forehead. The signature blazed in his sensors like a beacon. Parasitic life form. Dire Wraith infiltration confirmed. Weapons down! A human voice, amplified through speakers. You are in a secure United States military facility. Lower your weapon immediately. ROM's targeting systems locked onto the infected warrior. The Galadorian Universal Translator parsed the language, English, North American dialect, military command structure. His combat protocols recognized the formation. Defensive perimeter, suppressing fire positions, command and control from elevated observation room. But none of that mattered. The parasite readings were unmistakable. Step away from the compromised individual. ROM transmitted through external speakers, his voice carrying the mechanical timbre of 200 years encased in living armor. He carries a parasitic organism. All of you, remain still for scanning. The warrior with the golden forehead symbol didn't flinch. Instead, he raised his own weapon, some kind of energy staff, with practiced precision. I am Tilk of Chulak. Lower your weapon or you will be fired upon. ROM's analyzer swept the observation deck. More signatures. Dozens of them throughout the facility. His worst fears confirmed, he'd emerged into a Dire Wraith nest, a compromised military installation where the shapeshifters had already replaced key personnel. 200 years of hunting had taught him that hesitation meant death. But the energy readings were wrong. Not quite Dire Wraith. The magical signatures he tracked across galaxies were absent, replaced by something biological, almost technological. His sensors flagged inconsistencies. Some signatures matched each other perfectly, others were singular, unique. Through the observation window, ROM spotted a blonde woman in military uniform, her hand hovering over controls. Beside her, a man in glasses studied him with academic intensity. A gray-haired officer radiated command authority. None showed parasite signatures. General Hammond, the woman said, her voice carrying into the gate room. His armor is emitting some kind of scanning field. Our sensors are going haywire. Colonel O'Neill, report. The general ordered. A man in black tactical gear stepped forward from the perimeter, weapon lowered but ready. His eyes held the wariness of someone who'd seen too much. Well, he's definitely not Goa'uld. Wrong fashion sense. The armor's more chrome space robot than Egyptian god complex. I am ROM, the Spacek Knight transmitted. Greatest of the Space Knights of Galador. I pursue Dire Wraith infiltrators across the galaxy. My sensors detect parasitic organisms within this facility. Surrender the compromised individuals for neutralization. The man called O'Neill glanced at Tilk, then back to ROM. Yeah, about that. We're aware of the whole parasitic organism situation. It's complicated. There is no complexity in parasitic infiltration, ROM stated. His neutralizer remained locked on Tilk. The infected must be purged before they can spread. He carries a symbiote by choice. The woman in glasses, Daniel, his translator identified from the general's earlier command, called down. Tilk is our ally. He's helping us fight the Goa'uld, the actual parasites who enslave human populations across the galaxy. ROM's processors parsed this data. An enslaved species forced to carry parasites? Or elaborate deception? Dire Wraiths were masters of infiltration, creating complex cover stories, building trust before the final betrayal. But his analyzer kept flagging those inconsistencies. The signatures were too diverse, too openly displayed. Dire Wraiths hid. These didn't. I require verification, ROM said, his weapon lowering fractionally. My mission has spanned 2 centuries. I have witnessed entire worlds consumed by shape-shifting deceivers. I will not be responsible for another. General Hammond's voice carried the weight of command. Lower your weapon and we'll talk. You came through our Stargate. That makes you our problem until we sort this out. We've dealt with plenty of misunderstandings before. Let's not add friendly fire to today's complications. Sir, the blonde woman interjected. His scanning technology, if it can detect Goa'uld symbiotes that accurately, we need to understand it. Especially with the trust situation. O'Neill shot her a look that said they'd discuss that later. ROM's tactical programming ran probability matrices. Surrounded. Unknown facility layout. Limited intelligence on local capabilities. The massive stone ring behind him, clearly a transportation device, but unlike any Dire Wraith portal technology. The military discipline was authentic. The defensive formation professional. And that parasite signature in Tok'ra remained steady, unchanged. No shape-shifting. No deception. Just presence. I will lower my weapon, ROM transmitted. But I will continue scanning. If I detect active infiltration, I will respond. Fair enough, O'Neill said, though his P-90 stayed ready. Tilk stepped back. Let's give our shiny friend some space. The Jaffa warrior moved with controlled precision, his staff weapon lowering but not powering down. ROM's analyzer tracked him, noting the symbiotic organism's bioreadings. It wasn't shape-shifting. Wasn't preparing to attack. Just existing. The neutralizer powered down with a descending whine, though ROM kept it in hand. All right. O'Neill continued, gesturing to the observation deck. General Hammond, this is going to be a long debriefing. Colonel Carter, Dr. Jackson, accompany SG-1 to the briefing room. Hammond ordered. Medical team, stand by. And someone get me a full analysis of that armor scanning field. If it detected Tilk's symbiote that quickly, I want to know what else it can find. ROM stood in the center of the gate room, his analyzer continuing its relentless scan. More signatures throughout the facility. Some matched Tilk's profile. Others were different, dual signatures, 2 beings sharing one body. He'd crashed into something far more complex than a simple Dire Wraith infiltration. But somewhere in this facility, or on the worlds accessible through that stone ring, his true prey waited. The dimensional turbulence that pulled him here had been deliberate, triggered by Dire Wraith portal technology. They were here. Hidden among these humans and their parasitic allies. And ROM would find them. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. Indeed. The Chrome Warrior followed his armed escort toward the briefing room, each step echoing against concrete. Behind him, the Stargate sat silent and still, a ring that bridged worlds. He'd traveled through stranger gates before. But none had ever led him to a war quite like this. The briefing room felt too small for a spacek knight built to stride across alien battlefields. ROM stood at parade rest, his chrome armor reflecting the fluorescent lights in harsh angles. 7 chairs surrounded a central table. General Hammond sat at the head, fingers steepled, studying ROM with the calculating gaze of a man who'd negotiated with aliens before. Colonel O'Neill leaned back in his chair, deceptively casual. Major Carter had a laptop open, monitoring ROM's energy signature. DR. Jackson cleaned his glasses compulsively. Tilk stood by the door, arms crossed, staff weapon within reach. Let's start simple, Hammond said. How did you get through our Stargate? ROM's processors replayed the pursuit. I was tracking Dire Wraith vessels through Sector 14 Gamma when they activated experimental portal technology, stolen or adapted from conquered species. The energy discharge intersected with an active wormhole. I was pulled into the vortex. The wraiths scattered across multiple exit points. Wraiths? O'Neill's eyebrow rose. Not Goa'uld? Dire Wraiths. Shape-shifting parasites from the dark nebula. They infiltrate populations by replacing individuals. Perfect physical mimicry backed by sorcerous abilities. Once embedded, they corrupt from within until entire civilizations collapse. ROM's analyzer continued its passive scan. My sensors detected them entering your transportation network. They are here, in your galaxy. Carter's fingers flew across her keyboard. General, his description matches some anomalous energy readings we picked up 3 days ago. Multiple unscheduled gate activations, addresses we'd never dialed before. We assumed it was random cosmic interference. It was not random, ROM stated. Dire Wraiths use chaos as camouflage. They flee through multiple gates, establishing fallback positions across strategic worlds. Standard infiltration doctrine. Daniel leaned forward, his academic curiosity overriding caution. You said you've been hunting them for 2 centuries? 206 years, 4 months, 17 days. ROM's tone carried the weight of every hour. I was Brandon Rand of Galador. When the Dire Wraiths invaded my homeworld, our greatest scientists developed the Space Ignite program. We volunteered to be encased in living armor, surrendering our humanity to become weapons capable of fighting shapeshifters. The room went quiet. O'Neill exchanged a glance with Tilk. The Jaffa understood sacrifice. You gave up your human body? Daniel asked softly. My body is preserved in stasis on Galador. The armor is permanent. I cannot remove it. Cannot touch, taste, feel as humans do. I am a weapon, Dr. Jackson. Nothing more. ROM's analyzer flagged another symbiote's signature passing in the corridor outside. But a necessary one. Dire Wraiths destroyed 17 colony worlds before we stopped them. The space knights scattered across the galaxy in pursuit. I have not returned home in 140 years. Hammond's expression softened fractionally. We understand duty, ROM. Everyone in this room has sacrificed for their mission. He gestured to Tilk. But you need to understand our situation. The Goa'uld, the parasites your analyzer detected, are our primary enemy. They've enslaved human populations across this galaxy for thousands of years, posing as gods. Yet you allow them in your facility, ROM countered. The Tok'ra are different, Carter explained. They're genetic offshoots of the Goa'uld who reject the philosophy of domination. They blend with willing hosts in true symbiosis. Both beings share control, share experiences. They're our allies against the system lords. ROM's processors struggled with the concept. 200 years of absolute certainty. Parasite equals enemy, challenged by nuance. How do you verify this willing symbiosis? How do you know the host truly consents? We asked them, Daniel said simply. Both the host and symbiote. The Tok'ra have technology that allows separation if either party wishes. It's genuine partnership. And Tilk? The Jaffa spoke for the first time since entering the briefing room. I carry a Goa'uld larva because my people were genetically altered millennia ago to serve as incubators. The symbiote grants enhanced strength and longevity, but we are slaves to the system lords who distribute the larvae. I betrayed my false god to help the Tauri, these humans, fight for freedom. The larva will mature and be removed. I have no affection for the creature within me. ROM processed this. Slavery. Genetic modification. A warrior carrying the offspring of his enemy because biology demanded it. Not willing symbiosis. Forced coexistence. Your people deserve liberation, ROM said. This is different from Dire Wraith infiltration. We're working on it, O'Neill said dryly. The whole freeing an enslaved galaxy thing is on our to-do list. Right under don't let Earth get blown up. Again. Carter pulled up a star chart on the wall monitor. ROM, these unscheduled gate activations occurred at these addresses. Red dots marked 7 locations. If your Dire Wraiths did scatter across the network, we need to know what we're dealing with. What can they do? Ram accessed his combat database. Physical mimicry is perfect. DNA, memories, mannerisms. A Wraith can replace anyone and pass medical examination. They possess sorcerous abilities, energy projection, matter manipulation, mental assault. My analyzer detects the magical signature beneath their disguises. And they reproduce through conversion. Humans exposed to Wraith energies can be transformed into new Wraiths. So they're infiltrators who can spread exponentially. Hammond said grimly. How do we detect them without your analyzer? You cannot! That is why my people created the Space Knights. Ram paused. General, my sensors have been scanning this facility continuously since arrival. I detect 37 symbiote signatures. Most match profiles consistent with your Jaffa description. 4 show the dual signature pattern of Tok'ra blending. But... The room tensed. But... O'Neill prompted. There are 3 signatures I cannot classify. Not symbiote. Not human. Not Dire Wraith. Something else. Distant, possibly outside this mountain. And 1 signature within this facility that... Ram's analyzer flagged the anomaly again. It moves between locations inconsistently. Here, then absent, then here again. Not transportation. Simply discontinuous. Carter and Daniel exchanged worried looks. O'Neill sat up straighter. Where? Hammond demanded. Sublevel 19. Section 7. The signature appears for brief intervals, then vanishes. I cannot maintain lock. Hammond reached for the phone. Security, this is Hammond. I need a team to sublevel 19, Section 7. Full sweep. Report anything unusual. He covered the receiver. That's near the auxiliary labs. Restricted area. Could be equipment malfunction, Carter suggested, but her tone lacked conviction. We've had some experimental ancient technology down there that generates weird readings. Or, O'Neill said, it's exactly what our Chrome friend is worried about. Something that doesn't want to be detected. Ram's neutralizer appeared in his hand with mechanical precision. General Hammond, if Dire Wraiths have already infiltrated your facility, they will strike at your leadership first. You. Your tactical teams. Anyone with authority or critical knowledge. I request permission to investigate. Hammond studied the Space Ignite. 200 years hunting shapeshifters. Technology that could detect threats SGC's sensors missed. The elevator descended into Cheyenne Mountain's depths with mechanical precision. Ram stood motionless, his armor's sensors penetrating steel and concrete in expanding spheres. O'Neill and Carter flanked him, weapons ready, their body language speaking volumes, professional wariness balanced against genuine curiosity. So, O'Neill said as the floor numbers ticked downward, 200 years is a long time to hold a grudge against shapeshifters. It is not grudge, Colonel. It is mission. Ram's optical sensors tracked the elevator shaft's structural integrity. Dire Wraiths destroyed my homeworld's innocence. We were explorers, scientists, artists. They forced us to become weapons. Carter studied her tablet, comparing Ram's sensor data with SGC's internal monitoring. Your analyzer is remarkably sophisticated. It's detecting symbiote signatures our equipment can barely register. The energy frequency suggests it's scanning multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Dire Wraiths exist partially in magical dimensions. Standard sensors cannot detect their true nature. The analyzer penetrates dimensional barriers. Ram's helmet turned toward her. Your technology is advanced, Major. The transportation ring, this Stargate, demonstrates understanding of wormhole physics beyond most space-faring civilizations I have encountered. We didn't build it, Carter admitted. The ancients did millions of years ago. We're still figuring out how most of it works. Yet you use it to explore. Explore, defend, occasionally blow things up to save Earth, O'Neill added. Tuesdays are usually quiet, though. The elevator stopped at sublevel 19. The doors opened onto a corridor lined with laboratories, the lighting dimmer than upper levels, the air carrying the ozone smell of active experiments. 2 SF guards stood post at the corridor entrance, their surprise at seeing Rom evident despite professional composure. "Colonel O'Neill, sir," the senior guard said. "General Hammond called ahead. We've had Section 7 locked down since the order came through. No one in or out." "Anything unusual before lockdown?" Carter asked. The guard hesitated. "Dr. Lee was working late in Lab 7C, something about analyzing artifacts from P3X888. He left about 20 minutes ago, seemed off. When I asked if he was okay, he just stared at me for a second too long, then said he was fine." Rom's analyzer spiked. Description: mid-30s, about 5'8", glasses, white lab coat. "Where did he go?" "Took the service elevator toward the commissary level, sir." Rom moved before O'Neill could respond, his armored form gliding down the corridor with surprising speed. Carter and O'Neill hurried after him, weapons raised. "So much for tactical patience," O'Neill muttered. Lab 7C's door stood open. Rom's sensors swept the interior. Workbenches cluttered with artifacts, a computer terminal displaying cuneiform analysis, coffee cups still warm. And there, on the central examination table, a crystalline object pulsing with energy that made his analyzer shriek warnings. Not Dire Wraith. Not exactly. But close enough to trigger every threat protocol. Carter approached the crystal carefully, her scanner active. "This is Goa'uld technology. Looks like some kind of memory device, possibly from one of the temples on P3X888. She frowned. "But these energy readings. General Hammond didn't authorize bringing this back. It should still be in quarantine on the planet. Someone smuggled it through," O'Neill said, checking the room's corners. "Question is, why?" Rom's neutralizer hummed to life. "Because it is not Goa'uld technology. The energy signature matches Dire Wraith conversion crystals, devices used to transform humans into Wraith sleeper agents. They disguise their technology within artifacts of conquered species." His sensors focused on the crystal. Dr. Lee was exposed. "He is compromised." "Whoa, let's not jump to shoot the scientist just yet," O'Neill said. "Maybe he's just having a bad day. I look off most days according to Hammond." "Colonel, Rom might be right." Carter's scanner beeped urgently. "This crystal is emitting low-level radiation across multiple spectrums. Some of these frequencies match nothing in our database. If it is some kind of conversion device." Rom moved to the computer terminal, his armored fingers interfacing directly with the system through haptic sensors. Data flooded his processors, Dr. Lee's research notes, access logs, communications. He activated the crystal 43 minutes ago. Immediately afterward, his network activity became erratic. He accessed personnel files, command structures, gate operation protocols. Then he erased his search history and departed. "Classic infiltration behavior," Carter said quietly. "Gathering intelligence." O'Neill keyed his radio. "Hammond, we've got a situation. Dr. Lee may be compromised by alien technology. We need him found and contained, preferably 5 minutes ago." Static. Then Hammond's voice, tight with controlled urgency. "Colonel, we have a bigger problem. Dr. Lee just entered the gate room with an authorized IDC. He's requesting emergency medical assistance for a team returning from P7X009. Rom's sensors painted the facility layout in his vision. "How many personnel in the gate room?" 12, including technicians. "Evacuate them. Now." "Rom, we don't know for certain," Carter began. "I do." Rom moved toward the door. "The Dire Wraith will not seek medical assistance. It will use the confusion to access the Stargate's control systems. Once it understands your gate network, it will signal others. This facility will become a beachhead for full-scale infiltration." O'Neill and Carter followed him into the corridor, breaking into a run as Rom's flight systems engaged, lifting him off the ground. He accelerated through the passageways, his navigational computers plotting the fastest route to the gate room. All personnel, this is General Hammond. Emergency Protocol 7. Evacuate the gate room immediately. Security teams, converge on Dr. Lee's position. Non-lethal force only. Rom burst through the final corridor into the control room overlooking the gate chamber. Below, through the observation windows, Dr. Lee stood at the DHD console, his fingers moving across the symbols with inhuman precision. The Stargate's inner ring began to rotate, chevrons locking with mechanical certainty. He's dialing out, a technician shouted. Unauthorized activation! Rom's analyzer focused on Lee. The human biosignature was there, intact, but wrapped around it like a parasite was something else, energy patterns that flickered between dimensions, magical frequencies that no natural being should possess. Close the iris, Hammond ordered. Sir, if there's actually a team requesting medical assistance. Do it! The titanium barrier spiraled shut across the Stargate's surface. Below, Dr. Lee, or the thing wearing his form, turned toward the observation window. His face was emotionless, his eyes reflecting light at wrong angles. Then he smiled. Rom's neutralizer charged to full power. General Hammond, give the order. That is not your scientist. Not anymore. The Stargate's seventh chevron locked. The wormhole exploded outward in its characteristic kawoosh, the unstable vortex disintegrating against the iris in a shower of energy. And Dr. Lee began to change. His skin rippled like water, his form expanding, bones cracking and reforming. The human facade peeled away in strips of dissolving matter, revealing something beneath, something with too many joints, flesh the color of deep space, and eyes that burned with malevolent intelligence. A Dire Wraith, fully manifested, stood in Stargate Command's gate room. Carter's voice was barely a whisper. Oh my God! Fire! Hammond commanded. Security teams opened up with P-90s. Bullets struck the Wraith and passed through, its form flickering between dimensions. It raised one twisted hand, and energy crackled across the gate room, throwing soldiers backwards into walls. Rom launched himself through the observation window, armored form crashing through reinforced glass in an explosion of fragments. He landed between the Wraith and the fallen soldiers, neutralizer aimed at center mass. 206 years, Rom transmitted. You will not have this world. The Dire Wraith's laughter sounded like screaming metal. The neutralizer fired with a sound like reality tearing. Dimensional energy lanced across the gate room, striking the Dire Wraith in its twisted torso. The creature shrieked, a sound that existed in frequencies human ears couldn't process, and its form began to distort, pulled toward the weapon's banishment field. Then the distortion stopped. The Wraith stabilized, its body shuddering but intact. It looked down at the wound crackling with dimensional energy, then back at Rom with those burning eyes. When it spoke, the voice was wrong, Dr. Lee's vocal patterns layered over something ancient and hateful. Your limbo does not exist here, Space Ignite. We researched your kind before fleeing to this dimensional nexus. Your mercy weapon has no mercy to offer. Rom's sensors confirmed what he'd feared. The neutralizer's banishment field had nowhere to send its target. Instead of exiling the Wraith to limbo dimension, the weapon had simply pumped lethal energy into the creature's physical form. The wound wasn't healing, but the Wraith wasn't dissipating either. He'd just learned his primary weapon killed in this universe. And Dr. Lee's consciousness might still be in there. The Wraith raised both hands, dark energy coalescing between its palms. Rom's combat protocols screamed warnings as the creature unleashed a wave of force that slammed him backward into the Stargate itself. The impact rang through the gate room like a struck bell, chrome armor scraping against Naquadah. O'Neill and Carter burst through the shattered observation window, opening fire. The Wraith flickered, phasing partially out of dimension as bullets passed through its form. It gestured dismissively, and Carter's P-90 tore itself from her hands, clattering across the floor. O'Neill dove behind the ramp's cover, rounds sparking off concrete. So much for non-lethal, O'Neill shouted, switching to his Zat gun. The Goa'uld weapon discharged with its characteristic energy pulse. The Wraith absorbed the blast, its form crackling with blue lightning before grounding the charge into the floor. Rom pushed himself upright, analyzing the creature's combat patterns. It phased to avoid kinetic weapons, absorbed energy attacks, possessed telekinetic abilities. Standard Dire Wraith capabilities. But weakened. This was a single infiltrator, not a fully empowered sorcerer. The conversion process was incomplete. The human host. Rom transmitted on all frequencies. Dr. Lee's consciousness. Does it remain? Bill! Carter called out, circling wide. Bill Lee, if you can hear me, fight it! We know about Goa'uld possession. We know hosts can resist. The Wraith's head snapped toward her with predatory focus. The host sleeps, dreaming of cooperation. He will wake when we have no more use for his knowledge. Perhaps in time to watch his world burn. Tilk appeared in the control room doorway, staff weapon charged. You will release him, creature. Or you will die. I cannot die here. This form is temporary. The Wraith moved toward the DHD, energy crackling around its hands as it reached for the gate controls. But I can signal my brethren. 7 worlds now carry our seeds. 7 colonies waiting to spread across your precious gate network. Rom's analyzer swept the Stargate's control systems. The creature was trying to activate a specific address, one of the unscheduled coordinates from 3 days ago. A beacon world where other wraiths waited. The Space Ignite calculated trajectories, power requirements, acceptable losses. 200 years of tactical experience compressed into microseconds. Then he made his choice. Rom surged forward, his armor's flight systems screaming with overcharge. He intercepted the Wraith 1 meter from the DHD, his armored fist driving into the creature's center mass with kinetic force that cracked concrete beneath them. The Wraith's phasing failed under the sheer physical impact. Rom's armor vibrated at frequencies that disrupted dimensional shifting. They crashed together into the Stargate space. Rom's left hand clamped around the Wraith's throat, pinning it against Naquata metal. His right hand brought the neutralizer up, pressed directly against the creature's skull. Dr. Lee! Rom transmitted at maximum volume, broadcasting on every frequency his armor could generate. If consciousness remains, you must fight. Force separation between your mind and the parasite. Now. The Wraith thrashed, dark energy tearing at Rom's armor. Warning indicators flooded his vision. Hull integrity at 70%, 65, 60. The creature's sorcery was corrosive, eating through Galadorian alloys. But Rom had fought Dire Wraiths for 2 centuries. Pain was irrelevant. I cannot banish you, Rom said, his voice calm despite the combat. But I can kill you. And I will if forced. But I am giving the human 1 chance. Separate. Now. For a moment, nothing changed. Then the Wraith's eyes flickered, burning malevolence interrupted by confused brown human irises. Dr. Lee's voice, small and terrified, emerged beneath the monster's tones. Can't. It's too strong. God, it's in my head, I can feel. Focus, Rom commanded. You are human. This is your body. Reclaim it. Carter was suddenly there, her hand on the Wraith's distorted shoulder, ignoring the energy burns. Bill, listen to me. Remember the Tok'ra training? Mental separation techniques? You attended those sessions. You know how to partition consciousness. Do it! The Wraith's form shuddered. Its hold on Dr. Lee's body wavered, the transformation reversing in patches, human skin replacing alien flesh, normal bone structure reasserting through monstrous joints. Impossible, the Wraith hissed. This host is ours. This host, Tilk said, descending the ramp with staff weapon aimed, has witnessed freedom fighters resist gods for years. He knows resistance is possible. Dr. Lee's face emerged fully for 3 seconds. His eyes locked onto Rom's optical sensors, tears streaming. Do it! Kill me! Don't let it use what I know about the gate system. Don't let it. The Wraith surged back, slamming Lee's consciousness down. Its hand shot out, catching Carter around the throat and lifting her off the ground. Enough. The host serves or the female dies. O'Neill's P-90 fired, controlled burst into the creature's leg. It staggered but didn't release Carter, whose face was turning blue. Rom ran calculations. Neutralizer at point-blank range would kill both host and parasite. Carter had seconds. Standard tactics demanded the shot, sacrifice one to save many. But he'd seen O'Neill's expression. Carter's determination to reach Dr. Lee. Tilk's willingness to believe in resistance. These humans didn't abandon their people to monsters. Rom's free hand detached a device from his armor's utility array, a Galadorian neural disruptor, designed for short-range electromagnetic pulses. The alien consciousness, unable to maintain dimensional stability without a stable host, started fragmenting. No! It howled. We are eternal. We are. Rom fired the neutralizer one final time. Without a stable dimensional anchor, the Wraith had nowhere to exist. The energy blast didn't banish it to limbo. It simply obliterated the fragmenting consciousness, leaving only scorched concrete and Dr. Lee's unconscious human form crumpled against the Stargate space. Medical teams rushed in. Hammond descended from the control room, his expression unreadable. O'Neill helped Carter to her feet, while Tilk kept his weapon trained on Lee until medics confirmed human biosigns only. Rom stood motionless, the neutralizer still smoking in his hand. He'd saved the host. But he'd also killed to do it. 200 years of banishment warfare had just become something darker. The infirmary smelled of antiseptic and fear. Dr. Lee lay unconscious on a bed, medical monitors tracking vitals while Dr. Fraser worked with practiced efficiency. Rom stood in the corner, his armor's bulk making the room feel claustrophobic. His analyzer maintained constant scan of Lee's biosignature, human, uncontaminated, but psychically traumatized in ways the SGC's equipment couldn't measure. His brain activity is all over the place, Fraser said, studying the EG readout. I've seen this pattern before in Goa'uld possession survivors, but this is different. Whatever that thing did to him, it carved neural pathways that shouldn't exist. The Dire Wraith conversion process is incomplete, Rom explained. Dr. Lee retained enough autonomy to resist. Had the transformation finished, his consciousness would have been consumed entirely. He is fortunate. Fortunate, Carter repeated quietly from her position by the door, a bruise darkening her throat where the Wraith had gripped. He's going to wake up remembering something alien living in his head, using his memories, his knowledge. That's not a kind of fortune I'd wish on anyone. Rom's optical sensors dimmed fractionally. No. It is not. O'Neill entered with Hammond, both carrying the weight of command decisions. The general approached Lee's bedside, studying the unconscious scientist with a mixture of concern and tactical assessment. Status, Doctor? Stable, but I can't predict when he'll wake or what psychological state he'll be in. I'm recommending immediate transfer to a secure medical facility with psychiatric support. Fraser glanced at Rom. Whatever you did with that device, it worked. But the electromagnetic disruption was intense. The neural disruptor is prototype technology, Rom admitted. Designed for interrupting Wraith neural control without killing the host. I had not tested it on humans before. Lucky it worked, O'Neill said. Luck was not involved. I calculated a 73% probability of success. And the other 27%? Rom's silence was answer enough. Hammond cleared his throat. We've completed our sweep of sublevel 19. That crystal has been secured in a containment field. Dr. Jackson is analyzing it now with Tok'ra assistance. The question is, how many more are out there? Rom accessed his sensor logs. My analyzer detected the Wraith's dimensional signature because the conversion was incomplete. Fully transformed Wraiths can mask their energy patterns almost perfectly. Standard sensors will not detect them. He paused. General, you said the Wraith mentioned 7 worlds. 7 colonies. We've confirmed 7 unscheduled gate activations 3 days ago, Carter said, pulling up a tablet. P7X009, P3R233, P4C970, and 4 others. All human-inhabited worlds under various stages of development. We assumed it was a system glitch. It was invasion, ROM stated. Dire Wraiths seed target worlds with conversion crystals disguised as artifacts. The crystals slowly transform key individuals, leaders, scientists, military personnel. Within weeks, entire populations can be compromised without ever realizing they're under attack. O'Neill's expression darkened. So we've got 7 worlds potentially full of shape-shifting body snatchers, and no way to tell who's human and who's not. There is a way. ROM's neutralizer materialized in his hand. I can detect them. My analyzer penetrates their dimensional disguises. 1 space ignite, 7 planets, potentially thousands of people to scan, Hammond said. That's not a sustainable strategy. Then I will teach you to recognize the signs. Deploy me to each world with your SG teams. We conduct systematic sweeps, identify and neutralize compromised individuals before the infection spreads beyond containment. Carter looked up from her tablet. ROM, neutralize is a concerning word choice. You just killed that Wraith. If we go in weapons hot on allied worlds, assuming anyone could be an enemy. Major Carter is correct, Tilk said, entering the infirmary. The Goa'uld ruled through fear and paranoia. If we begin treating allies as potential threats, we become no better than the system lords. ROM processed their concerns. They were right. 200 years of hunting had taught him to see enemies everywhere, to strike first and confirm later. But these humans had built alliances across their galaxy through trust, not paranoia. What do you propose? ROM asked. We go in quiet, O'Neill said. Diplomatic visits to check on our allies. You scan populations discreetly. When you find Wraiths, we attempt capture and separation like we did with Lee. Only go lethal if there's no other option. That approach will alert the Wraiths to our detection capability, ROM countered. They will adapt, possibly accelerate their infiltration timeline. Maybe, Hammond said. But it's the approach that doesn't turn us into monsters. We've walked that line before, ROM. It's not a line we cross lightly. ROM stood silent, his processors running ethical subroutines he hadn't accessed in decades. The Space Knights were created as weapons, surgical, efficient, ruthless when necessary. But these humans, fighting a war against parasitic gods, still chose mercy when possible. Dr. Lee stirred on the bed, a soft moan escaping his lips. Fraser immediately checked his vitals while everyone tensed. Lee's eyes fluttered open, unfocused and confused. When he saw ROM's armored form, he flinched violently. It's okay, Bill, Fraser said gently, her hand on his shoulder. You're safe. You're in the infirmary. The creature is gone. Lee's breathing came in ragged gasps. His eyes darted around the room, settling briefly on each person before moving on, as if confirming reality. I remember. God, I remember everything. It was in my head, reading my memories like files. It knew about the gate system, the iris codes, personnel layouts. He focused on ROM. You stopped it. How did you know I was still in there? Experience, ROM said simply. I have witnessed Dire Wraith possession for 2 centuries. The patterns of resistance are recognizable to those trained to observe them. There are more of them, aren't they? Lee asked quietly. I felt them when it was connected. 7 colonies, it kept thinking. 7 seeds growing in fertile soil. Carter stepped closer. Bill, we need to know everything you remember about what the Wraith knew. Every thought, every plan. Lee nodded slowly, then stopped. Major, when I was possessed, I felt what it felt. The Wraiths aren't just infiltrating randomly. They're targeting specific worlds for specific reasons. He looked at Hammond. Sir, they know about the ancient technology sites. They're positioning themselves near gate addresses that lead to repositories of ancient knowledge. The room went cold. They're after the Ancients database, Daniel said, appearing in the doorway with his usual impeccable timing for archaeological crises. If the Dire Wraiths access ancient technology, combine it with their sorcery, they become unstoppable, Rom finished. This is why they fled to your galaxy. They seek power sources to replace what the Space Knights have taken from them. Hammond's jaw set. Colonel O'Neill, assemble SG-1 and prepare for immediate departure. Major Carter, I want a full analysis of those 7 gate addresses cross-referenced with known ancient sites. Dr. Jackson, brief the Tok'ra on this threat. They need to know what we're dealing with. And Rom? O'Neill asked. The general studied the space ignite. You're coming with SG-1 to P7X009. It's a colony world, 3,000 inhabitants, minimal technology. If the Wraiths are there, I want them found and contained before they spread. He paused. But you follow Colonel O'Neill's tactical lead. We do this the SGC way, with precision and restraint. Rom inclined his head slightly. I understand, General Hammond. I will adapt to your operational parameters. As the team filed up to prepare, Rom remained a moment longer, looking at Dr. Lee. The scientist was already being moved to a secure ward, his eyes haunted by memories of invasion. 200 years, Rom had fought alone. Perhaps it was time to learn what these humans knew about fighting together. The Stargate's chevrons locked in sequence, each mechanical ka-chunk reverberating through the gate room. Rom stood on the ramp beside SG-1, his armor sensors analyzing the forming wormhole's energy signature. The event horizon exploded outward in its characteristic whoosh before settling into the shimmering vertical pool of impossible physics. P7X009, Carter announced from her position. Colony established 6 years ago by refugees from Goa'uld occupation. Population approximately 3,000. They call it New Thesa. O'Neill adjusted his tactical vest, P90 held with casual readiness. Nice folks. They make this bread that's almost worth the 10-hour diplomatic dinners. He glanced at Rom. Try not to point your neutralizer at anyone unless they're actively trying to kill us. I will exercise discretion, Colonel. That's what worries me. Your version of discretion involves scanning everyone for parasites. That is correct. Daniel pushed his glasses up. Rom, the Thesians have had difficult experiences with false gods. If you start acting like you're judging whether they're real humans or not, it's going to create problems we don't need. I will conduct passive scans only. Rom agreed. Unless active threat is detected. Tilk secured his staff weapon across his back. That is acceptable. The Thesians are a proud people. They value their hard-won freedom. We must honor that. Hammond's voice came through the speakers. SG-1, you have a go. Standard check-in schedule. If ROM detects anything, you contain and report before engaging. Clear? Crystal, sir, O'Neill said. Let's go see who's been body snatched. They stepped through the Stargate. Rematerialization felt like being disassembled and reconstructed at the atomic level, because that's precisely what it was. ROM's sensors cataloged the process: matter stream, quantum entanglement, buffer integration, reformation. His armor compensated for the dimensional stresses, systems recalibrating as they emerged on the far side of the galaxy. New Thesa's gate stood in a valley surrounded by agricultural terraces. Late afternoon sun cast long shadows across fields of grain. A small village clustered near the gate platform. Stone buildings with thatched roofs, solar panels incongruous against primitive architecture. The DHD sat beneath a wooden shelter, protected from weather. 2 Thesian guards stood watch, their leather armor decorated with symbols that rejected false divinity. They recognized O'Neill immediately, relaxing fractionally. Colonel O'Neill, the senior guard said, a woman named Tok'ra according to ROM's facial recognition database. We did not expect visitors. Is something wrong? Routine check-in, O'Neill said with practiced ease. Making sure everyone's healthy, Happy, not being invaded by parasitic aliens. The usual. Kelra's eyes shifted to Rom, her expression wary. Who is your companion? We know the Jaffa Tilk, but this warrior? Rom of Galador, Daniel said, stepping forward diplomatically. He's helping us investigate some unusual energy readings we detected near several colony worlds. Nothing to worry about, just being thorough. Rom's analyzer swept the village automatically. 3,000 biosignatures spread across the valley. Most showed standard human readings. But there, Sector 7, near the communal hall, a signature with dimensional variance. Another near the southern farms. A third in the administrative complex. 3 potential Dire Wraiths in a population of 3,000. Rom transmitted the data to Carter's equipment via encrypted bursts. She checked her tablet, her expression carefully neutral. Kelra, she said smoothly, would it be possible to meet with Archon Devris? We have some questions about resource management that might benefit other colonies. The guard nodded. Of course. He is in the council hall now, meeting with the agricultural committee. I will escort you. They walked through the village, Rom analyzing everything. The Thesians had built a functional society from nothing. Irrigation systems, communal storage, small workshops producing tools and textiles. Children played in a courtyard, their laughter genuine. An elderly man carved wood outside his home, his hands steady with practiced skill. And somewhere among them, 3 people who weren't people at all. Rom's tactical protocols screamed to identify and neutralize immediately. But he'd agreed to O'Neill's approach. Restraint. Verification. Mercy when possible. The council hall was a larger stone structure with a peaked roof. Inside, a dozen Thesians sat around a long table covered in maps and harvest projections. Archon Devris stood at the head, a middle-aged man with weathered features and eyes that had seen too much suffering under Goa'uld rule. Colonel O'Neill! Devris's smile was genuine, his handshake firm. Always a pleasure. What brings SG-1 to our small corner of the galaxy? Rom's analyzer focused on Devris. Human. Completely. No dimensional variance, no parasitic signatures. Clean. Just checking in on our friends, O'Neill said. Making sure the system lords haven't been causing trouble. We've seen no Goa'uld activity since our liberation, Devris assured him. Harvest is good this year. Our children are learning to read. We are happy, Colonel. Truly happy for the first time in generations. The Archon's gaze shifted to Rom. Though I confess your armored friend is unlike any ally you've brought before. Is he Asgard? His design is different from Thor's descriptions. Different galaxy, different armored warriors, Daniel said. Rom is helping us with a technical issue. He's... Rom's sensors spiked. One of the Thesian council members, a woman named Sala who'd been taking notes silently, had just displayed a brief dimensional fluctuation. Her biosignature phased for a fraction of a second, revealing the layered signature beneath. Dire Wraith. Fully transformed and hiding. But she showed no signs of recognition, no indication she knew Rom could detect her. She simply continued writing, her expression pleasantly neutral, exactly as a trusted council member should appear. Rom's hand moved fractionally toward his neutralizer before stopping. O'Neill's words echoed, contain and report before engaging. Archon Devris, Rom said carefully. I would speak with you privately regarding security matters. It concerns potential threats to colony worlds across the Gate network. Devris frowned. Of course. Council, we'll continue this meeting later. He gestured to a side chamber. Please, all of you. As they moved toward privacy, Rom transmitted encrypted tactical data to SG-1's equipment. Target identified, Sala, council member, full transformation complete. 2 additional signatures in village. Recommended action, contain primary target first, prevent warning to others. Carter's acknowledgement blinked in his visual display. In the private chamber, Devris closed the door. What's this about, Colonel? You're making me nervous. O'Neill glanced at Rom, then back to the Archon. We've detected a new threat. Shape-shifting infiltrators called Dire Wraiths. They've seeded several worlds with conversion devices. Rom can detect them, and we're here to help. Devris's face went pale. Shapeshifters? Here? Among my people? One on your council, Rom stated bluntly. Sala. She is fully transformed and has been gathering intelligence on your colony's vulnerabilities. The Archon stepped backward, his hand going to a ceremonial dagger at his belt. Sala? No. She survived 3 years in a Goa'uld labor camp. She helped organize our escape. She's been with us since the beginning, which makes her perfect for infiltration, Daniel said gently. The Dire Wraiths replaced her at some point, probably recently. They target trusted individuals for maximum access. How recently? Devris demanded. Rom accessed his combat database. Conversion process requires 48 to 72 hours for complete personality integration. Longer if the Wraith is maintaining the host's memories and behavioral patterns convincingly. 3 days ago, Devris said quietly. Sala went to inspect the southern farms alone. She returned that evening, said everything was fine. But she's been different. Small things. Wrong inflections. Forgetting minor details about people she's known for years. His hand tightened on the dagger. I thought she was just tired. The Wraith has her memories but not her soul, Rom said. The original Sala is gone. Consumed during transformation. Tilk's expression hardened. As the Goa'uld consume their hosts. This is intolerable. O'Neill held up a hand. We contain her first, figure out separation later. Rom, is there any chance the real Sala is still in there, like Dr. Lee was? Rom's analyzer reviewed the biosignature patterns. Negative. The transformation is complete. Dr. Lee resisted during conversion. Sala did not, or could not. Her consciousness no longer exists as a discrete entity. Devris's face crumbled. Then she's dead. Really dead. Yes, Rom said, because lying served no purpose. I am sorry, Archon Devris. The Thesian leader straightened, grief transforming into cold fury. What do you need from me? The plan was simple in concept, complex in execution. Devris would recall Sala to the council hall for an urgent security briefing. Rom would confirm the Dire Wraith's identity one final time. SG-1 would establish containment perimeter. Then they'd use the neural disruptor to attempt separation, even though Rom's scans suggested it was already too late. I don't like this, Carter said quietly as they positioned themselves around the hall's interior. If the Wraith realizes we're onto it, it could phase out, warn the others, or detonate whatever contingencies they've planted. Which is why we smile, act normal, and wait for Rom's fancy detector to do its thing. O'Neill replied, checking his Zad gun. Tilk, you're back up on the door. Daniel, try to look harmless. I am harmless. Exactly. Use that. Rom stood near the wall, his armor's bulk making him appear decorative, a strange artifact rather than active threat. His analyzer maintained constant lock on Sala's approaching biosignature. She walked with confidence, no hesitation, perfectly mimicking human gait patterns. The door opened. Sala entered, her expression concerned. Archon, I came as quickly as I could. Your message said it was urgent? Devris's voice remained steady despite the grief Rom could detect in his elevated heart rate. Yes. Our guests from Earth have detected a security issue. They need to scan all council members for contamination. Sala's eyes shifted to Rom, then to SG-1. For 1 microsecond, her dimensional signature spiked. Recognition. Assessment. Threat calculation. Then she smiled warmly. Of course. Whatever helps keep New Thesa safe. She was good. 200 years of hunting Dire Wraiths, and Rom had to acknowledge this one skill. The vocal patterns matched perfectly, the body language reflected years of trust and familiarity, even the micro-expressions suggested genuine cooperation. But the analyzer didn't lie. Rom moved forward, extending his scanning array. This will take only a moment. Please remain still. Sala stood patiently as Rom's sensors penetrated her dimensional disguise layer by layer. Human exterior. Wraith consciousness beneath. Neural pathways completely rewritten. Original personality matrix, absent. The thing wearing Sala's face had consumed her utterly, leaving only memories to puppet the flesh. Scan complete. Rom transmitted on SG-1's encrypted channel. Confirmed Dire Wraith. Full transformation. Original host consciousness non-existent. No possibility of separation. O'Neill's acknowledgement was a barely perceptible nod. Thank you for your cooperation, Rom said aloud, stepping back. Sala relaxed fractionally, and that's when Carter activated the containment field generator she'd positioned earlier. Energy barriers snapped up around Sala, trapping her in a cylinder of crackling force. The Dire Wraith dropped the disguise immediately. Sala's form rippled and distorted, flesh running like wax as the Wraith's true nature emerged. Her scream was multidimensional, a sound that existed in spaces human ears couldn't process. The transformation was faster than Dr. Lee's had been. This Wraith was experienced, comfortable in its power. Clever. It hissed through a mouth that was still half-human. But too slow. You cannot contain what exists between dimensions. The Wraith began phasing, its form flickering in and out of reality. The containment field disrupted but didn't stop the process. Rom had seen this before, Dire Wraiths escaping through dimensional rifts when cornered. Carter, boost the field harmonics, O'Neill ordered. Already on it. She adjusted settings on her tablet, but the Wraith was adapting faster than the technology could compensate. Rom made a tactical decision. He activated his armor's dimensional anchors, systems designed to prevent Wraith phase shifting during combat. Energy fields extended from his gauntlets, overlaying Carter's containment with Galadorian technology. The combined frequencies created a resonance cascade that locked the Wraith partially in phase. The creature shrieked, half its body solid, half still flickering. Space ignite! We escaped your kind once. We will do so again. You fled because we destroyed your fleets, Rom stated. You came to this galaxy seeking refuge. You found only another war. We found opportunity. The Wraith's eyes burned with malevolent intelligence. This galaxy is perfect. Thousands of human worlds connected by the ancients' gates. Populations ripe for conversion. An ancient technology everywhere, waiting to be claimed. Your ancients are gone, ascended to irrelevance. We will inherit their legacy. Daniel stepped closer, studying the creature with academic fascination despite the danger. The ancients didn't abandon their technology. They left it for their descendants, humanity, to discover when we were ready. Humanity. The Wraith laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You are children playing with weapons you don't understand. We have studied ancient science for decades. We know what the Stargates truly are, not just transportation, but dimensional bridges. Keys to realms your primitive minds cannot fathom. Rom's sensors detected energy building within the Wraith's form. Magical reserves pooling for a final desperate attack. It's preparing to self-destruct, Rom warned, attempting to signal the other Wraiths before termination. Can you stop it? O'Neill asked. Rom calculated probabilities. The neural disruptor wouldn't work. There was no human consciousness to separate. The neutralizer would kill it but might not prevent the signal. Standard energy weapons were useless against a phasing target. But there was one option. Risky. Potentially catastrophic. But necessary. I can absorb its magical energy, Rom said. My armor can process dimensional forces, convert them into containable power. But the Wraith's consciousness will attempt to invade my systems during the transfer. That sounds like a spectacularly bad idea, O'Neill said. It is the only option that prevents the signal. Tilk moved to Rom's side. Then we will assist. The Goa'uld attempted to invade technology before. We know counter techniques. ROM appreciated the solidarity, even if Tilk's experience with Goa'uld possession wouldn't help against Dire Wraith consciousness invasion. But the gesture mattered. The Space Ignite extended his power absorption arrays, creating a direct link to the contained Wraith. Energy began flowing from the creature into his armor, magical force converted to electrical potential. The Wraith's scream intensified as its power drained. And then its consciousness struck. ROM's systems exploded with intrusion alerts. The Wraith's mind was a spike of alien malevolence driving into his neural network, seeking control pathways, attempting to override his motor functions. For 3 seconds, ROM experienced what Dr. Lee had endured: foreign presence inside his mind, reading memories, twisting thoughts. He saw what the Wraith had seen: 7 worlds seeded with conversion crystals. 50 humans already transformed. Plans to infiltrate SGC itself through returning SG teams. Coordinates to an ancient outpost in unexplored space where weapons capable of destroying system lords waited to be claimed. ROM's countermeasures activated. 200 years of Space Ignite programming, hardened against Dire Wraith mental assault, created firewall after firewall. He compartmentalized his consciousness, isolated the invasion, and began systematically purging the foreign presence. The Wraith fought desperately, but it was already dying. Its energy reserves depleted, its physical form collapsing, its consciousness fragment grew weaker with each passing microsecond. ROM delivered the final purge. The Wraith's consciousness shattered into non-existence. In the containment field, Salah's body fell motionless. The dimensional signatures faded completely, leaving only cooling human flesh that had been someone's friend, colleague, survivor of Goa'uld's slavery. Now just another victim of a different kind of parasite. ROM deactivated his absorption arrays, downloaded the intelligence he'd ripped from the Wraith's dying mind, and transmitted it to Carter's equipment. "I have their operational intelligence," he reported. 50 confirmed transformations across 7 worlds. Plans to infiltrate SGC. And coordinates to an ancient weapons facility the Wraiths intended to claim. Devris stared at Salah's body, his expression hollow. 50 people. Gone. Replaced by monsters. Not yet replaced. ROM corrected. The intelligence suggests most transformations are incomplete, subjects like Dr. Lee who can still be saved. But we have limited time. Perhaps 48 hours before the conversions become irreversible. O'Neill was already on his radio. "Hammond, this is O'Neill. We need immediate extraction and full gate lockdown protocol. We've got a situation that's bigger than we thought." As they waited for the wormhole, ROM approached Devris. The Archon stood over Salah's body, his hands trembling. "She was my friend," Devris said quietly. "We survived hell together. I trusted her. That trust was not misplaced," ROM replied. "Your friend died protecting you. The thing that replaced her was the enemy. Honor Salah's memory by helping us save the others before they suffer her fate." Devris looked up at the Chrome Warrior. "You've fought these things for 200 years. "Yes." "How do you bear it? Knowing anyone could be replaced? Living with that paranoia?" ROM was silent for a long moment. "I stopped living with it, Archon. I became it. But these humans," he gestured to SG-1, "they fight the same war while maintaining hope. Perhaps they can teach us both." The Stargate activated behind them, Earth's iris code transmitted. Home beckoned. And 50 people across 7 worlds waited to be saved. The briefing room at Stargate Command had transformed into a war room. 7 worlds marked on the star chart. 50 confirmed Dire Wraith infiltrations. Hammond stood at the head of the table, his expression carved from granite. ROM occupied an entire corner, his armor's bulk a reminder that Earth now fought enemies from multiple galaxies. "We don't have the personnel to simultaneously sweep 7 planets for shapeshifters," Hammond stated. "Even with ROM's detection capabilities, we're talking about populations ranging from hundreds to tens of thousands. It would take weeks." "We don't have weeks," Carter said, pulling up conversion timeline projections. According to the intelligence ROM extracted, the Dire Wraiths accelerate transformations once they detect active countermeasures. The moment we start openly scanning populations, they'll fast-track every incomplete conversion. We'll lose all 50 hosts. Daniel adjusted his glasses, studying translated Dire Wraith tactical documentation ROM had provided. There's something else. The Wraiths aren't just infiltrating randomly. Each of the 7 worlds has something in common: proximity to unexplored ancient sites. They're positioning themselves to access ancient technology. The weapons facility, O'Neill said. The coordinates ROM pulled from that thing's head. Anyone checked it out yet? Carter nodded grimly. I ran the gate address through our database. It's an unexplored space, 12,000 light-years from Earth. The address was flagged in one of Anubis's data cores we recovered, marked as forbidden territory even by system lord standards. When Goa'uld system lords call something forbidden, Tilk observed, it is typically because the ancients left weapons even false gods fear. ROM's processors analyzed the tactical situation. 7 worlds. 50 infected hosts. Unknown ancient weapons. And somewhere, more Dire Wraiths waited, coordinating the infiltration. There is a strategic vulnerability in the Wraith operation, ROM said. They require coordination. 50 simultaneous transformations across 7 worlds suggests a command structure, a prime Wraith directing operations. Like a system lord, Hammond said. Precisely. Eliminate the prime, and subordinate Wraiths lose strategic cohesion. They become individual operators instead of coordinated army. O'Neill leaned forward. So we find their queen bee and take her out. How? ROM accessed the intelligence packet he'd extracted. The Wraith I encountered on New Thesa maintained constant low-frequency dimensional contact with other Wraiths. A psychic network enabling real-time coordination. The Prime's signal will be strongest, a dimensional beacon originating from one of the 7 worlds. Carter's fingers flew across her laptop. If I modify our sensor arrays to detect dimensional frequencies based on ROM's specifications, we could triangulate the Prime's location. But it would take time to recalibrate the equipment. How much time? Hammond asked. 6 hours. Maybe 8. The door opened, and Dr. Lee entered, moving carefully with a medic hovering nearby. His face was pale, dark circles under his eyes, but his expression held determination. Bill, Fraser said sharply, you should be in bed. You were possessed by an alien consciousness less than 12 hours ago. Which means I have insight no one else has. Lee replied, his voice shaky but firm. He looked at ROM. I felt the network. When the Wraith was in my head, I could sense the others, like being connected to a hive mind. They're not just coordinating. They're sharing consciousness. What one Wraith learns, they all learn. ROM's optical sensors focused intensely on Lee. You retained connection memories after separation? Fragments. Images. Impressions. Lee sat carefully. The Prime isn't on one of the 7 colony worlds. She's at the ancient facility, the Forbidden Coordinates. She's been there for weeks, studying the weapons systems, trying to bypass ancient security. The room went silent. The Wraiths seeded the colonies to create a support network, Daniel realized. They're converting humans to serve as expendable soldiers for when they assault the ancient facility in force. And we just killed one of their scouts, O'Neill said. Which means they know we're onto them. As if summoning evidence, the gate room klaxons erupted. Hammond grabbed the phone. Report. Sir, incoming wormhole, unscheduled, identity unknown. GDO code is, it's one of ours, sir. SG-7's code from P4C-970. Carter checked her tablet. P4C-970 is one of the 7 colony worlds. SG-7 has been there for 3 days conducting agricultural surveys. Could be SG-7 reporting in, O'Neill said. But his weapon was already in hand. Or it could be Dire Wraiths who consumed SG-7 and learned their codes. Tilk added, staff weapon powering up. Rom moved toward the control room overlooking the gate. His analyzer prepared to scan anything that emerged from the event horizon. The wormhole shimmered. A figure stumbled through, collapsing on the ramp. Major Boyd of SG-7, uniform torn, bleeding from a dozen wounds. Behind him came 2 more team members, supporting a third who wasn't moving. "Medical team to the gate room," Hammond ordered. "Rom?" The Space Knight's sensors swept the returning team. "Scanning. Major Boyd is human. Uncontaminated. Lieutenant Morrison is human. Sergeant Chin is human. Captain Rodriguez is..." Rom's analyzer spiked. "Deceased. No biosignature." Boyd looked up at the observation window, his face desperate. "General, we need to close the iris. They're right behind us." The Stargate erupted with activity. 6 figures burst through the event horizon, moving with inhuman speed. Rom's analyzer screamed warnings. All 6 showed full Dire Wraith transformation, dimensional signatures blazing like beacons. The iris spiraled shut, but not before the Wraiths were through. "Lock down!" Hammond commanded. "All security teams to the gate room." Rom launched himself through the observation window, his armor's flight systems carrying him in a chrome arc toward the gate room floor. He fired the neutralizer mid-flight, dimensional energy striking the nearest Wraith's center mass. The creature shrieked and dissolved, its incomplete physical form unable to withstand the weapon's lethality in this universe. The remaining 5 Wraiths scattered, phasing between dimensions to avoid weapons fire. SF teams poured in from multiple entrances, P-90s chattering. Bullets passed through flickering forms. A Wraith gestured, and 3 soldiers flew backward into walls with bone-breaking force. Tilk's staff weapon caught 1 Wraith solidly, the energy blast disrupting its phasing. Rom followed up with a kinetic strike, his armored fist driving the creature into the concrete floor hard enough to crack the foundation. The Wraith spasmed once, then went still. 4 left. O'Neill and Carter coordinated fire, herding 2 Wraiths toward Rom's position. The Space Ignite activated his dimensional anchors, creating resonance fields that forced the creatures partially solid. The moment they stabilized, SAT blasts and staff weapon fire converged, overwhelming their defenses. 2 left. The remaining Wraiths realized they were losing. Instead of fighting, they dove for the DHD, clawed hands reaching for the dialing interface. They were trying to escape, to report back to the Prime. Rom calculated trajectories, power requirements, acceptable risks. Then he overcharged his flight systems and crashed into both Wraiths simultaneously, his chrome bulk pinning them against the DHD with crushing force. His neutralizer pressed against 1 Wraith's skull. His free hand generated an electromagnetic pulse that disrupted the other's dimensional phasing. "Do not move," Rom commanded. "You will be questioned. Then you will be neutralized." The Wraith beneath his neutralizer hissed defiance. "The Prime knows. We transmitted as we entered. She knows you have a Space Ignite. She knows your defense capabilities. The assault on the ancient facility accelerates. 50 warriors will become 500. Then 5,000. 50 incomplete transformations cannot become warriors in hours," Rom stated. The Wraith's laughter was a wet, bubbling sound. Not from the colony's fool. From the facility itself. The ancients left thousands of humans in stasis at that location, a researched population preserved for millennia. The Prime has been converting them for weeks. Your precious hosts, those 50 across 7 worlds? They are merely scouts. Expendable. Rom's sensors detected the energy spike too late. The Wraith self-destructed, dimensional energy exploding outward in a sphere of corrosive magic. Rom's armor absorbed most of the blast, but the DHD behind him shattered, crystal control systems fragmenting. The second Wraith, freed from his grip, flickered once, and vanished through dimensions, escaping. Silence fell across the gate room, broken only by crackling fires and groaning wounded. "Casualty report," Hammond ordered over the speakers. Rom stood amid the destruction, his armor scorched but functional. The DHD was destroyed. 4 dead wraiths. 1 escaped. And the chilling intelligence that thousands of humans had been in stasis at the ancient facility, slowly being converted into a Dire Wraith army. Major Boyd pulled himself upright, cradling a broken arm. General, they hit us without warning. Transformed villagers we'd been working with for days. We barely made it to the gate. Captain Rodriguez. His voice broke. They got him. Conversion was instant, like they'd prepared him somehow. He turned on us. How many wraiths on P4C-970? O'Neill asked. At least 20 when we left, sir. Probably more by now. Carter looked at the destroyed DHD, then at ROM. We can't dial out until that's repaired. We're trapped here. The Tok'ra have DHDs, Daniel suggested. We could contact them through subspace. No time, ROM interrupted. His analyzer was detecting something through the closed iris. The escaped wraith is signaling. The Prime is responding. She is... ROM's sensors suddenly flooded with data. She is activating the ancient facility's defenses. Energy signature matches the repository weapons we detected. She is preparing to dial Earth. Hammond's face went pale. How long? 12 minutes until she can override ancient security protocols, ROM calculated. Then she will have access to weapons designed to destroy System Lord fleets. O'Neill grabbed his radio. All SG teams, this is Colonel O'Neill. We have incoming ancient firepower in 12 minutes. Evacuation protocols are. There is no evacuation, ROM stated flatly. If the Prime gains control of ancient weapons, she will not merely target Earth. She will sterilize all 7 colony worlds simultaneously, eliminating evidence of her infiltration while demonstrating power to potential enemies. 21,000 people across 7 worlds. 12 minutes. 1 Space Ignite and 1 SG team. ROM accessed tactical subroutines he'd hoped never to use. General Hammond, I require Tok'ra assistance immediately. And I will need Colonel O'Neill's team. For what? Hammond demanded. To do what Space Knights do best, ROM replied, his neutralizer charging to full power. Assault an impossible objective against overwhelming odds. With a broken DHD? ROM looked at the shattered remains, then at Carter. Major, can you repair it in 12 minutes? She assessed the damage. Not repair. But I might be able to jury-rig a single outgoing connection using power from the auxiliary systems. 1 shot. 1 address. Then that address will be the ancient facility, ROM said. We go to the Prime. We end this before thousands die. Carter worked with desperate precision, her hands moving across the shattered DHD components. Tok'ra crystals, beamed directly to the gate room by their allies, glowed in makeshift housings, bypassing destroyed circuits. ROM stood beside her, his armor's power systems feeding auxiliary energy into the jury-rigged connections. This is insane, Carter muttered, sweat beading on her forehead. Even if we dial out, we're talking about assaulting an ancient weapons facility that's been claimed by shapeshifters who've had weeks to fortify. We don't even know the internal layout. I know it, Dr. Lee said from his position near the blast doors. Against Fraser's furious objections, he'd refused to leave. When the Wraith was in my head, I saw the facility through the Prime's memories. Hexagonal structure, 7 levels deep. Stasis chambers on levels 3 through 5. Ancient weapon control on level 7. The Prime operates from there. Bill, you can barely stand. Daniel protested. Which is why I'm staying here and providing intel remotely. Lee pulled up a tablet, sketching the facility layout from memory. But ROM needs to know what he's walking into. O'Neill checked his P90 for the 3rd time, his movements revealing tension coiled tight. We're talking about me, Carter, Tilk, Daniel, and the Chrome Knight versus an army of shapeshifters sitting on ancient superweapons. Hammond, tell me this isn't suicide. The general stood in the observation deck, his expression grave. It's suicide, Colonel. But if ROM's calculations are correct, those weapons come online in 8 minutes. We either stop the Prime now, or we lose 7 worlds and expose Earth to ancient firepower we can't counter. Then we're going, O'Neill said simply. Tilk? It would be an honor to die beside you, O'Neill. But I would prefer we survive. Always the optimist. O'Neill looked at Rom. What's your place, Basic Knight? Because I'm assuming 200 years of fighting gives you some kind of plan beyond charge in and shoot everything. Rom transmitted the tactical overlay to their equipment. The Prime requires level 7 to control ancient weapons. We deny her that control. Major Carter sabotages the weapon systems. Dr. Jackson attempts to access ancient database for override codes. Tilk and Colonel O'Neill provide suppressing fire. I engage the Prime directly. And the army of Wraiths between us and level 7? Daniel asked. I will clear a path. Carter looked up from her work, doubt clear in her expression. Rom, you're powerful, but you're not invincible. One Basic Knight against potentially hundreds of Dire Wraiths. Has been my life for 2 centuries, Major. I am experienced in unfavorable odds. A Tok'ra operative materialized on the transport pad. Malik, carrying additional power crystals and a cylindrical device ROM recognized as a symbiote poison delivery system. The Tok'ra Council sends support, Malik said, his voice carrying both host and symbiote's urgency. This poison affects Goa'uld biology. If Dire Wraith physiology is similar. It is not, Rom interrupted. But I appreciate the gesture. Your power crystals will be more useful. 7 minutes, Carter announced, installing the final crystal. This is going to work once. Maybe. The DHD is held together by hope and Tok'ra ingenuity. When we dial, we go immediately, because it's going to burn out the moment we disconnect. Hammond descended to the gate room. SG-1, you've pulled off impossible missions before. This is just another Tuesday. Sir, it's actually Friday, Daniel said. Then you're overdue for impossible. Carter stepped back from the DHD, her hands trembling slightly. Ready. The address Lee provided is locked in. Rom's armor is providing stable power flow. When I activate this, we have maybe 30 seconds before the whole thing melts. O'Neill settled his boonie hat more firmly on his head. Been nice knowing you all. Let's go get killed saving the galaxy. Again. Chevron 1 encoded, Carter said, her hand on the makeshift activation control. The Stargate's inner ring began rotating, each chevron locking with ominous finality. The jury-rigged DHD sparked and smoked, crystals glowing dangerously bright. Rom's power system strained, feeding energy into dying technology. Chevron 7, locked! The wormhole exploded outward, its unstable formation betraying the failing DHD. The event horizon shimmered wrong, colors shifting through spectrums that shouldn't exist. Go! Now! Carter shouted. They plunged through together. O'Neill, Carter, Daniel, Tilk, and Rom. The wormhole felt wrong, buffering incorrectly, the rematerialization process corrupted by dying gate technology. Rom's armor compensated for the team, his systems creating a protective buffer that kept them intact during the chaotic transit. They emerged into chaos. The ancient facility's gate room was a cathedral of alien architecture. Hexagonal walls covered in glowing symbols, a ceiling that stretched impossibly high, and everywhere, the evidence of battle. Scorch marks. Broken stasis pods. And bodies. Dozens of human bodies in various stages of Dire Wraith transformation, some complete, most partial, all dead. They culled their own failed conversions, Rom observed, his analyzer sweeping the carnage. Eliminating unstable subjects before the assault. A dimensional rift tore open across the chamber. 20 Dire Wraiths poured through, fully transformed and combat-ready. Their forms were grotesque amalgamations, human bodies twisted into weapons, flesh merged with technology stolen from the facility. Contact! O'Neill opened fire, his P-90 chattering. Bullets passed through phasing targets. Really not liking the odds here. Rom activated every combat system simultaneously. Dimensional anchors created resonance fields that forced Wraiths solid. His neutralizer fired in rapid succession, each shot obliterating a target unable to escape. Kinetic strikes pulverized those who tried to close distance. Energy fields deflected their sorcerous attacks. But there were too many. Carter threw a Tok'ra shock grenade, the detonation disrupting dimensional phasing in a 5-meter radius. Tilt's staff weapon fired methodically, each blast coordinated with Carter's disruption fields. Daniel provided covering fire with his sidearm while accessing the nearest ancient terminal. "I'm in!" Daniel shouted over the weapon's fire. "The facility's defense systems are still active, but the Prime locked them out using administrator protocols. I need time to..." A wraith materialized behind him, claws extended. Tilt's staff blast caught it mid-lunge, the creature exploding in a shower of corrupted flesh. "You have 30 seconds, Daniel Jackson," Tilt stated, already turning to engage 2 more targets. ROM calculated their tactical position. They were pinned in the gate room. The Prime controlled level 7, 3 floors below, with direct access to ancient weapons that could crack planets. Even if they survived this wave, more wraiths waited in the facility's depths. He needed to change the battlefield. "Major Carter," ROM transmitted, "can you overload this facility's power distribution?" She processed his intent immediately. "Create a feedback cascade that forces the Prime to divert attention to preventing total systems failure?" "Yes, but it would take at least 5 minutes to hack the ancient power grid. I will buy you 5 minutes." ROM charged forward, his armor's bulk becoming a battering ram. He crashed through the Dire Wraith line, neutralizer firing continuously, his dimensional anchors creating a corridor of forced reality that prevented phasing. Wraiths clawed at his armor, their sorcery carving furrows in Galadorian alloy. Warning indicators multiplied, armor integrity 60%, 55-50. He kept advancing. Through the gate room. Into the hexagonal corridors beyond. Wraiths poured from side passages, a tide of corrupted flesh and stolen technology. ROM's combat programming operated beyond conscious thought. 2 centuries of muscle memory encoded in neural pathways, every move optimized for maximum efficiency. A wraith managed to tear away part of his shoulder plating. Another's energy blast melted optical sensors on his left side. A third drove bone blades into the joint between chest and hip. ROM fought with the systematic precision of a weapon designed for one purpose. Behind him, SG-1's weapons fire continued. Carter worked frantically at an ancient console. Daniel's voice called out override codes. Tilt's staff weapon never stopped firing. They were holding. Barely. ROM reached a junction where 3 corridors met. His analyzer detected massive energy signatures below, the weapon systems powering up. 4 minutes until activation. The Prime was close. He could sense her dimensional presence like a bonfire in the facility's depths. He activated his external speakers, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Prime! I am ROM, greatest of the Space Knights of Galador. I have pursued your kind across galaxies. Face me, or prove your cowardice." The facility shuddered. Energy patterns shifted. And then she appeared. The Dire Wraith Prime was massive, 3 meters tall, her form a nightmarish fusion of organic and technological. She wore pieces of ancient armor integrated directly into her flesh. Her eyes burned with intelligence earned through consuming hundreds of minds. "Space Ignite," she said, her voice resonating through dimensions. "We fled your kind once. Never again. Here, we have found power even you cannot match." Ancient weapon systems activated around her, automated defense drones rising from floor panels, energy cannons extending from walls. The Prime had corrupted the facility's defenses, turned them to her will. ROM's armor integrity dropped to 40%. His power reserves were depleting. And the greatest Dire Wraith he'd encountered in 2 centuries stood before him, backed by ancient weapons, with SG-1 fighting for survival 3 corridors behind. He charged his neutralizer to maximum power. "Then let us test that assumption." The Prime smiled, a terrible expression on an inhuman face. And the ancient facility became a battlefield where two warriors fought not just for victory, but for the fate of 7 worlds. The ancient weapon systems fired first, coherent energy beams that could vaporize Hotak motherships converging on Rom's position. The Space Knight's armor absorbed what it could, deflected more, but the sheer volume overwhelmed his defenses. He crashed into a hexagonal wall, the impact cratering ancient metal. The Prime advanced, her corrupted form moving with predatory grace. You gave up your humanity to fight us, Space Ignite. What did it gain you? We still spread. Still survive. Still consume. Rom's tactical systems recalibrated. He couldn't match ancient weapons and the Prime simultaneously. But he didn't need to match them, he needed to redirect them. The Space Ignite fired his neutralizer at the ceiling above the Prime. The dimensional energy blast destabilized the ancient metal's molecular structure. Tons of reinforced ala collapsed, forcing the Prime to phase shift defensively. In that moment of distraction, Rom surged forward through the falling debris, his armored form slamming into her before she could fully solidify. They crashed through a wall into the chamber beyond, a vast space filled with rows of stasis pods. Thousands of them, stretching into darkness. Most were empty, their occupants already converted or culled. But hundreds still glowed with active preservation fields, humans sleeping peacefully, unaware their salvation had become their damnation. Witness our future army, the Prime said, rising from the rubble. The ancients preserved their research subjects for millennia. Such consideration. Such resources. Rom's analyzer swept the stasis pods. 73% showed signs of Dire Wraith contamination, conversion in progress, transforming sleepers into warriors. But 27% remained clean. 738 humans still human. I will not allow you to consume them, Rom stated. You cannot stop. Rom fired the neutralizer directly into the stasis pod control systems. The blast cascaded through the network, emergency protocols activating. Preservation fields destabilized. Pods began emergency revival sequences, all of them, simultaneously, contaminated and clean alike. The Prime shrieked rage. You fool! The incomplete transformations will die during forced awakening. Better death than becoming you. Stasis pods hissed open. Humans stumbled out, some screaming as incomplete Dire Wraith conversions tore them apart from within. Others emerged clean, confused, their last memories from an age when the ancients still walked. And some, the fully transformed, emerged as wraiths, immediately orienting on Rom's dimensional signature. Chaos erupted. The chamber became a nightmarish melee of half-converted humans dying, pure humans fleeing in terror, and Dire Wraith warriors converging on Rom's position. The Prime commanded her forces with telepathic precision, directing them to overwhelm the Space Ignite through sheer numbers. Rom fought with systematic brutality. The neutralizer fired continuously, each shot killing. His kinetic strikes pulverized Wraith warriors. His dimensional anchors forced enemies solid for just long enough to destroy them. But his armor integrity continued dropping, 35%, 30, 28. He was losing. 3 corridors away, Carter's fingers flew across the ancient console. Almost there, just need to bypass the final firewall. Major Carter, we have problems! Daniel called out, firing his sidearm at Wraiths trying to flank their position. Lots of half-dead humans stumbling around down there, and Rom just triggered some kind of mass awakening. O'Neill dropped an empty magazine, slammed in a fresh one. Of course he did. Because subtlety is dead. Tilk, how we doing on staff charges? This is my final power cell, O'Neill. Fantastic. Carter, whatever you're doing, do it faster. Carter entered the final command sequence. Got it. Initiating power cascade in 3, 2, 1. The facility's lights flickered. Energy distribution networks across all 7 levels began overloading in a carefully orchestrated chain reaction. The Prime felt it immediately, her connection to the facility's systems screaming warnings. She had a choice: continue fighting ROM, or prevent total systems failure that would destroy the ancient weapon she'd worked weeks to access. She chose survival of her mission over pride. The Prime disengaged, phasing through walls toward level 7. ROM pursued immediately, his damaged armor straining. Behind him, newly awakened humans, the clean ones, fled toward the gate room, guided by their survival instincts and SG-1s covering fire. ROM crashed into level 7's command center as the Prime reached the ancient weapon controls. The chamber was spherical, walls covered in holographic interfaces displaying tactical overlays of the entire gate network. At the center, a crystalline control matrix pulsed with power enough to shatter worlds. The Prime's hands moved across the controls with desperate speed, attempting to stabilize power distribution while maintaining weapons lock on 7 colony worlds. You have delayed nothing, Space Ignite. The weapons are charged. The colonies will burn. And your Earth will witness what happens to those who harbor weapons against us. ROM's analyzer detected the weapon signatures locking onto targets. P7X009. New Thesa. 21,000 lives about to be sterilized by ancient firepower. He had one option remaining. ROM diverted all remaining armor power, life support, weapons, dimensional anchors, everything, into his energy absorption arrays. Then he placed both hands on the crystalline control matrix, and began draining the ancient facility's entire power grid directly into his armor. The Prime realized his intent too late. No! You'll overload. Your armor will. I know, ROM transmitted calmly. Energy flooded his systems. Ancient power designed to fuel weapons that destroyed Wraith Hive ships, now channeling through Galadorian technology never meant to handle such load. ROM's armor began glowing, heat rising past safety thresholds. Warning indicators became continuous screams of imminent catastrophic failure. But the weapon's lock on the 7 colonies failed. Power drained away from firing systems into ROM's increasingly unstable armor. The Prime attacked with everything she had: sorcery, physical strikes, dimensional disruption. ROM's armor was too damaged to deflect. Her claws tore through his chest plating, carving into the systems beneath. Energy blasts melted optical sensors. But he held the connection, continued draining power, his system seconds from detonation. Space Ignite! The Prime's voice carried something almost like respect. You sacrifice yourself for humans you barely know. For worlds you've never visited. Why? ROM's voice emerged distorted, his vocal systems failing. Because someone must. The door exploded inward. SG-1 burst through, O'Neill firing his last magazine, Carter with a Zat gun, Daniel with his sidearm, Tilk swinging his staff weapon like a club. They'd fought through 3 levels of facility, rescued 700 humans, and arrived exactly when ROM needed them. The Prime turned to face this new threat, her attention divided for one critical second. Carter threw her last shock grenade. The detonation disrupted the Prime's dimensional phasing. O'Neill's bullets found solid flesh. Tilk's staff weapon struck her center mass. Daniel's shot, pure luck, hit the ancient armor piece integrated into her skull, cracking the technology that enhanced her power. The Prime staggered, her control over the facility fracturing. ROM released the power absorption, redirecting the ancient facility's energy into one final neutralizer blast. The weapon fired at point-blank range, dimensional energy tearing into the Prime's form with power amplified 1,000-fold by ancient technology. The Dire Wraith Prime, greatest of her kind, architect of the 7-world infiltration, screamed once. Then she ceased to exist. ROM collapsed, his armor smoking, critical systems offline. O'Neill caught him, somehow supporting the Chrome Warrior's weight despite physics making it impossible. Stay with us, ROM. Mission's not done. You don't get to die until we're home. Weapon systems? ROM's voice was barely audible. Carter checked the ancient controls. Offline. Power grid is a mess, but nothing's firing on the colonies. You stopped it. The humans? 738 clean extractions, Daniel reported. They're terrified, confused, but alive. The Tok'ra are sending ships to evacuate them. Then, mission success. Yeah, O'Neill said quietly. Mission success. They carried ROM back to the gate room. The facility's emergency power kept the Stargate operational, barely. Carter dialed Earth, transmitted their emergency code, and one by one they stepped through, supporting ROM's damaged form. They emerged at Stargate Command to medical teams, debriefings, and Hammond's relieved expression. ROM was taken immediately to the facility's most advanced workshop, where Carter and her engineers worked frantically to stabilize his armor's critical failures. 3 days later, ROM stood in Hammond's office, his armor repaired enough to function. The general sat behind his desk, exhaustion evident despite professional composure. Final count, Hammond said. 738 humans rescued from ancient facility. Transferred to Tok'ra care for deprogramming and relocation. 7 colony worlds confirmed clean of Dire Wraith presence. Your assault broke their network completely. Dr. Lee is recovering, expected to make full psychological recovery with time. And we've shut down the ancient facility, destroyed the weapon systems to prevent future exploitation. Acceptable outcome, ROM replied. More than acceptable, ROM. You saved 21,000 lives across 7 worlds. Hammond stood, extending his hand. On behalf of Earth and the Stargate program, thank you. ROM clasped the offered hand carefully, mindful of his armor's strength. I did not fight alone, General. Your SG-1 earned their reputation. Without them, I would have failed. Speaking of which, Hammond pulled a folder from his desk. The IOA has authorized a standing position for you, if you want it. Official designation as SGC Consultant on Interdimensional Threats, full access to gate travel, authorization to accompany SG teams on missions where your expertise is needed. ROM processed the offer. 200 years alone, hunting across galaxies. Now, an offer to continue the hunt, but as part of a team. With allies who valued mercy alongside strength. I accept, ROM said. The Dire Wraith threat in this galaxy is not eliminated, only diminished. More may come. And I suspect this universe has other threats that require a Space Knight's attention. Hammond smiled. Oh, we've got threats. Plenty of them. Welcome to Stargate Command, ROM. We'll have your official designation processed by tomorrow. As ROM departed, he encountered O'Neill in the corridor. The colonel carried coffee, looking like he hadn't slept properly in days. So, staying around? O'Neill asked. For the foreseeable future. Good. Because Tilk bet me $20 you'd take off the moment the threat was handled. I am a weapon, Colonel. Weapons do not abandon their purpose. Yeah, well. O'Neill clapped ROM's armored shoulder. You're a weapon who saved a lot of people. Maybe you're more than just chrome and duty. ROM watched the human walk away, considering. For 200 years, he believed he was nothing but a weapon. Brandon ran dead, only the Space Knight remaining. But perhaps these humans, with their impossible missions and stubborn hope, could teach even a weapon what it meant to be more. 6 weeks after the ancient facility assault, ROM stood in Stargate Command's observation deck, watching SG-3 return from a routine mission. The wormhole's shimmer had become familiar. No longer an alien phenomenon but a gateway he understood. Earth's Stargate connected to thousands of worlds, each presenting opportunities for exploration, diplomacy, or conflict. And increasingly, for hunting Dire Wraiths. His analyzer had detected 3 more isolated infiltrations across the gate network. Small operations, remnants of the shattered 7-world network. Each time, SG teams had accompanied him. O'Neill's tactical expertise, Carter's scientific solutions, Daniel's cultural sensitivity, Tilk's warrior discipline. Together they'd contained the threats with minimal casualties, separating incomplete conversions, neutralizing the fully transformed. ROM was learning restraint. And perhaps, slowly, trust. Detecting anything? Carter asked, joining him at the observation window. She carried a tablet displaying dimensional frequency analysis. Research they'd been conducting together, teaching SGC's sensors to recognize Dire Wraith signatures without requiring ROM's constant presence. Nothing unusual, ROM replied. SG-3's biosignatures are clean. No dimensional variance. Good. She studied her data. The sensor upgrade is working. We detected that Wraith Scout on P2X887 before you even scanned the population. Your technology integrated with ancient and Tok'ra systems is creating something revolutionary. Collaboration produces superior results to isolation, ROM acknowledged. I am learning this. Dr. Lee approached, moving with restored confidence despite lingering psychological scars. ROM, I wanted to show you something. He pulled up a holographic display. We've been analyzing the Dire Wraith conversion crystals you helped us secure. The energy patterns suggest they're not just Wraith technology, they're adapted from something else. Something older. ROM's processors engaged. Origin? Unknown. But the dimensional manipulation techniques don't match any known technology in our database. Not Goa'uld, not ancient, not Asgard. Lee adjusted the display. I think the Dire Wraiths stole this technology from another species. Which means there may be others who possess similar capabilities. ROM finished. Species capable of dimensional warfare that neither the Space Knights nor SGC have encountered. Exactly. I wanted to warn you. The galaxy might have more surprises. ROM regarded the scientist who'd survived Dire Wraith possession through sheer will. Thank you, Dr. Lee. Your insight is valuable. After Lee departed, Carter studied ROM thoughtfully. You've changed since you arrived. More communicative. Less shoot first, verify later. These past weeks have demonstrated that my approach was incomplete, ROM admitted. The Space Knights were designed as weapons, efficient, ruthless, necessary. But SGC operates differently. You seek understanding before conflict. Mercy when possible. These principles do not weaken, they strengthen. Tell that to O'Neill. He still thinks diplomacy means shooting them politely. Colonel O'Neill's methods are more nuanced than he admits. Carter smiled. Don't let him hear you say that. He works hard to maintain his image. The gate room below activated. Incoming wormhole scheduled. Hammond's voice came through speakers. SG-1, report to the briefing room. We have a situation on P7R322. Unusual energy readings that match. He paused. Match the dimensional signatures ROM detected during the facility assault. ROM and Carter exchanged glances. Another Dire Wraith operation. Or something worse. They descended to the briefing room where SG-1 assembled. O'Neill looked tired but ready. Daniel had archaeology texts spread before him. Tilk stood at attention, staff weapon maintenance completed. Hammond projected a star chart showing the target world's location. P7R322 is uninhabited, Hammond explained. But our MALP detected structures consistent with ancient architecture. And these energy readings. The display showed dimensional variance patterns. ROM? The Space Knight analyzed the data. Consistent with Dire Wraith portal technology. But more sophisticated than previous encounters. This may be a primary infiltration point, a permanent gateway between dimensions. So more Wraiths could be coming through, O'Neill said. Fantastic. Just when I thought we'd cleared the infestation. If it is a permanent gateway, we must close it, Tilk stated. Or the Dire Wraith threat will never truly end. Agreed, Hammond said. SG-1, you're authorized for reconnaissance and potential demolition. ROM, you're accompanying them. Standard protocols: assess, contain, report before engaging. ROM inclined his head. Understood, General. As they prepared for departure, ROM accessed his mission logs. 206 years of solitary warfare across galaxies. Thousands of Dire Wraiths hunted and banished. Countless worlds saved, usually without thanks or recognition. But now he fought alongside allies. Humans who'd welcomed a chrome warrior from another galaxy, who trusted his warnings despite his weapons pointed at their friends, who'd stood beside him against impossible odds. Brandon Rand had volunteered to become a Spacek Knight to save Galador. He believed sacrifice meant surrendering everything: body, humanity, connection. For 2 centuries, he'd been a weapon walking alone through hostile space. These humans were teaching him that sacrifice could also mean opening himself to trust again. To partnership. To the possibility that a weapon might still possess a warrior's heart. The Stargate activated behind them, chevrons locking in sequence. The wormhole's shimmer beckoned: another world, another mission, another opportunity to protect the innocent from darkness. ROM joined SG-1 on the ramp. O'Neill gave his characteristic nod. "Let's go close some dimensional portals and save the galaxy." Again. They stepped through together. ROM the Spacek Knight had spent 2 centuries hunting alone across the stars. Now he understood, the greatest battles were fought not by solitary warriors, but by teams who trusted each other absolutely. And somewhere in Stargate Command's records, a new file entry appeared. Consultant ROM Space Knight of Galador. Status: active. Assignment: SGC Interdimensional Threat Response. Mission ongoing. The Chrome Warrior's journey through the Stargate network had only begun. 7 worlds secured. Thousands saved. But the gate connected to millions of addresses, each a potential battlefield. And ROM would face them all, not alone anymore, but with allies who'd proven that even weapons forged in sacrifice could find purpose in hope. Indeed. Hit the subscribe button for more interesting stories. Thank you for watching.